We all want to unlock our potential, don't we? To live a life filled with purpose, success, and fulfillment. But let's be honest, most of us get stuck in routines, habits, and patterns that don't really serve us. That's why today I'm going to share something different, something powerful. These aren't your average, overused self-help tips. I'm talking about 5 habits that completely transformed my life. And here's the kicker, hardly anyone uses them. Think about it. What if the breakthroughs you've been waiting for are hidden in plain sight? These habits aren't flashy. They're not the ones that get plastered all over motivational posters or trend on social media. But I can promise you this, if you lean in, listen closely, and apply what I'm about to share, you'll discover tools that can shift the trajectory of your life in ways you've never imagined. Stay with me, because what's coming next could be the very thing you need to break free from where you are now and step boldly into the life you've always wanted. Before I dive into these 5 life-changing habits, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right, following all the advice, ticking all the boxes, and yet nothing seems to change? You grind hard at work, you try to manage your time, you read all the books, and you even dabble in meditation or journaling. But deep down, you feel stuck, like the results you're chasing are always just out of reach. I know that feeling because I've been there. There was a time in my life when I was overwhelmed by frustration. No matter what I did, it felt like I was running on a hamster wheel, exhausted but going nowhere. Then, something shifted. I stumbled upon 5 simple habits, not from a best-selling book, not from a viral video, and not from some popular guru. These habits came from moments of reflection, trial, and quite frankly, desperation. I didn't just adopt them, I lived them. And guess what? My life started to change in ways I couldn't have imagined. But here's the crazy part, when I share these habits with others, most of them shrug. They don't see the power behind the simplicity. They want something bigger, shinier, or more complicated. Yet the ones who actually try them, they start seeing breakthroughs. Are you curious yet? You should be, because by the end of this video, you'll walk away with 5 tools that can genuinely transform your life if you have the courage to use them. But you've got to stick around, because the best secrets are worth the wait. Let me tell you about a habit that doesn't get the attention it deserves: scheduled solitude. It's not just alone time, it's deliberate, focused silence, a moment when you shut out the noise of the world to truly connect with yourself. You see, most people are constantly busy. They wake up and immediately dive into a sea of notifications, emails, and endless tasks. Their minds are bombarded with demands from morning till night, and they never give themselves the gift of quiet. That's the problem. Growth doesn't happen in chaos, it happens in the calm. For me, this habit was life-changing. Every day I carve out 30 minutes to sit in silence. No phone, no music, no distractions. It's not about meditating or achieving some Zen-like state. It's about letting my thoughts surface. At first, it was uncomfortable. My mind raced, bringing up fears, regrets, and anxieties, but I didn't run from it. I faced it. Here's what happens when you commit to scheduled solitude clarity. You start to see patterns in your thinking. You identify what truly matters to you and what's just noise. You begin to hear that inner voice, the one drowned out by the world's chatter. And that voice, it's your guide. It tells you when you're on the right path and when you're not. It reveals insights that no self-help book or motivational video ever could, because it comes from within you. In those moments of solitude, I've solved problems that seemed impossible. I've had ideas that propelled my life forward. I've found peace in chaos and strength in vulnerability. And here's the truth, you can have that too. Most people won't do this. They'll say they're too busy, that their lives are too hectic. But here's the irony when you make time for solitude. You actually gain more time. You start making better decisions. You waste less energy on things that don't matter. Your productivity skyrockets because you're no longer running on autopilot, you're living with intention. The question is, will you give yourself permission to pause? To sit with your thoughts and let them guide you? This isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. The most successful people in the world understand this, even if they don't talk about it. Now it's your turn to discover its power. Big dreams often die under the weight of big expectations. You set a massive goal, and for a while you're excited. But then reality hits. The enormity of the task overwhelms you, and you find yourself procrastinating, doubting, and ultimately giving up. That used to be me until I discovered the transformative power of micro-commitments. Here's the principle: instead of aiming to conquer the mountain in one leap, you commit to taking one small, manageable step every day. A step so small that it seems insignificant. But here's the secret: those small steps compound. For example, I once committed to writing just 50 words a day. That's it. It seemed laughable at first. What difference will 50 words make, I thought. But here's what happened: the habit built momentum. Some days I wrote 50, other days 500. The point wasn't how much I achieved in a day, it was that I showed up consistently. Over time, those micro commitments turned into a finished book, a dream I'd been chasing for years. The beauty of micro commitments is that they eliminate excuses. You can't say, I don't have time, because anyone can spare 5 minutes. You can't say it's too hard because the task is intentionally small. And once you start, something magical happens. You want to keep going. This habit works because it rewires your brain. Every time you complete a micro commitment, you build confidence. You prove to yourself that you're someone who follows through. And that belief, it's a game changer. It spills over into every area of your life. But here's the part most people miss. It's not just about completing the task. It's about over-delivering on your promise to yourself. If you commit to 5 push-ups, do 7. If you commit to reading 1 page, read 2. These small acts of overachievement strengthen your self-discipline and create a ripple effect of success. Most people ignore this habit because it seems too simple, too boring. They want quick fixes, not incremental progress. But the truth is, success is built on consistency, not bursts of effort. So what's your micro commitment? What's the one small thing you can start doing today? Because I promise you this, if you master this habit, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Let's be honest, most of us avoid asking ourselves the hard questions. Why? Because deep down, we're afraid of the answers. We stick to surface level thinking because it's comfortable. But here's the truth: growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when you dare to confront what's holding you back. That's why this habit, asking uncomfortable questions, changed my life. These questions aren't easy to face. They'll make you squirm. They'll force you to look at parts of yourself that you'd rather ignore. But here's the beauty of it: when you dig deep, you uncover the blind spots that are keeping you stuck. I remember asking myself, what excuses am I using to justify my lack of progress? That single question hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized that I was blaming circumstances instead of taking responsibility. It wasn't easy to admit, but that moment of honesty sparked a transformation. I started owning my choices and everything changed. The power of this habit lies in its simplicity. You don't need a coach, a course, or a manual. You just need the courage to sit with yourself and ask, what's really going on here? When you make this a regular practice, you become unstoppable. You stop wasting energy on denial and start directing it toward growth. Here's the kicker: most people won't do this. They don't want to face the discomfort. They'd rather keep blaming, avoiding, or pretending. But you're not most people. You're here because you want more out of life. And if you're willing to adopt this habit, you'll start to see breakthroughs you never thought possible. The process isn't complicated. Set aside 10 minutes each day to reflect and ask yourself one uncomfortable question. Write down the answer, no matter how raw or messy it feels. Over time, you'll build a habit of honesty and self-awareness that will change the way you live, work, and grow. Gratitude is often treated like a buzzword, something people do when life is going well. But what about when things fall apart? What about the moments when you feel frustrated, defeated, or overwhelmed? That's where the gratitude list filter comes in. And it's a habit that reshaped my perspective on life. Here's how it works. Whenever I face a challenge or failure, I force myself to write down 3 things I'm grateful for because of that specific experience. Not general gratitude, like I'm thankful for my family, but gratitude tied directly to the struggle. This process trains your mind to find growth and lessons in adversity. For example, when I lost an important business deal, I didn't just wallow in disappointment. I sat down and wrote. At first, this practice feels forced. It's hard to find gratitude when you're in the middle of a storm. But over time, it becomes second nature. You start to see obstacles not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones. This habit is powerful because it shifts your focus. Most people dwell on what went wrong. They replay the failure in their minds, blaming themselves or others. But when you filter your experiences through gratitude, you take control of the narrative. You become the author of your story, not just a character in it. The gratitude list filter also builds resilience. Life is unpredictable. There will be setbacks, disappointments, and challenges. But when you train yourself to find the silver lining in every situation, you become unshakable. You start to believe that no matter what happens, there's always something to learn, something to gain. The surprising thing, hardly anyone does this. Most people stop at basic gratitude practices. They don't take the extra step of connecting gratitude to their struggles. But those who do, they develop a mindset that's not just positive, but powerful. So the next time life throws you a curveball, don't just react. Pause. Write down 3 things you're grateful for because of that challenge. You'll be amazed at how quickly this habit transforms your outlook and your results. Every day we make hundreds of tiny decisions: what to eat, how to spend 5 spare minutes, whether to scroll through our phones or start that project we've been avoiding. These are microtransactions, small, seemingly insignificant choices that we don't give much thought to. But here's the truth: most people miss the quality of your life as a reflection of these microtransactions. I used to think success was built on big decisions: the career you choose, the business you start, the relationships you pursue. And while those choices matter, they're not the whole story. The real game changer is in the small, everyday actions that compound over time. Let me give you an example. There was a time when I would collapse on the couch after a long day and automatically reach for my phone. It felt harmless. But that just 5 minutes of scrolling would turn into 30, then an hour. It wasn't until I started tracking my habits that I realized those moments of distraction were stealing my focus, my energy, and ultimately my progress. So I made a change. I started treating every microtransaction as if it were worth $1 million. Every choice what to eat, whether to read or watch TV, whether to say yes to a commitment, was weighed against my goals. Suddenly my decisions became intentional. Here's the power of this habit: it gives you control. Instead of letting life happen to you, you take charge of the little things. And those little things, they add up to big results. When you choose a healthy snack over junk food, when you spend 5 minutes reading instead of scrolling, when you start a task instead of procrastinating, you're not just making better choices, you're building momentum. Most people dismiss this habit because it doesn't feel exciting, it's not flashy. But that's exactly why it works. While others are chasing quick wins, you're quietly stacking small victories that lead to massive breakthroughs. So the next time you face a small decision, pause. Ask yourself, does this move me closer to the person I want to become? It might seem minor in the moment, but remember, success is hidden in the choices no one else is paying attention to. Feedback, it's one of the most underutilized tools for growth. Most people avoid it because it feels uncomfortable. No one likes to hear what they're doing wrong. But here's the irony: avoiding feedback keeps you stuck, while embracing it accelerates your progress. When I first started seeking feedback, it wasn't easy. I had to put my ego aside and ask people I trusted, what am I missing? What could I do better? And let me tell you, some of their answers stung. But over time, I realized something powerful: feedback isn't criticism, it's a shortcut to improvement. Here's how I turn feedback into a weekly habit. Every Sunday, I reach out to someone, a mentor, a friend, a colleague, and ask for insight on one specific area of my life. It could be my communication skills, my work habits, or even how I handle stress. The key is to be precise. Instead of saying, "How am I doing?" I ask, "What's one thing I could improve in specific area?" This opens the door to actionable advice. And here's the kicker: most people are willing to help, but you have to take the first step. When you ask for feedback, you're not just improving yourself, you're showing others that you value their perspective. This builds stronger relationships and creates a support system for your growth. The magic of this habit lies in its consistency. When you seek feedback every week, you create a cycle of continuous improvement. You're no longer waiting for mistakes to pile up or for opportunities to slip away. You're proactively identifying areas to work on and fixing them before they become problems. Most people don't do this. They wait for feedback to come to them, usually during a performance review or after a failure. But by then it's too late. The opportunity for growth has already passed. When you make feedback a regular practice, you stay ahead of the curve. So let me challenge you: who can you ask for feedback this week? What's one area of your life you're willing to examine under a microscope? It might feel uncomfortable at first, but I promise you this: the discomfort is temporary, but the growth is permanent. Here's something most people never consider: not all hours are created equal. You can have two people working the same number of hours, but one gets twice the results. Why? It's not about time management, it's about energy management. This is where energy tracking becomes a game changer. For years, I treated my day like a checklist. I thought if I just crammed enough tasks into my schedule, I'd be productive. But here's what I learned the hard way: it's not how much you do, it's when you do it. Some tasks require your peak focus and creativity, while others can be done on autopilot. Energy tracking helps you align your energy with your priorities. The process is simple but powerful. For 1 week, track your energy levels throughout the day. Use a journal or an app to note when you feel alert, creative, and motivated, and when you feel drained, sluggish, or distracted. At the end of the week, patterns will emerge. You'll start to see your personal energy zones. For me, I discovered that my creativity peaks in the morning. That's when I now tackle my most challenging tasks, like writing or strategic planning. By afternoon, my energy dips, so I schedule easier tasks like emails or routine admin work. And in the evening, that's my recharge time, reading, reflecting, or spending time with loved ones. Here's the magic of this habit: it doesn't just make you more productive. It also helps you avoid burnout. Instead of forcing yourself to perform when your energy is low, you work with your natural rhythms. You become more efficient, more focused, and most importantly, more fulfilled. Most people ignore this habit because it seems too simple. They assume productivity is about willpower or discipline. But here's the truth: when you align your tasks with your energy, you don't have to push yourself as hard. You work smarter, not harder. So I challenge you to try it. Spend 1 week tracking your energy. Notice the highs and lows and adjust your schedule accordingly. You'll be amazed at how much more you can accomplish, not by working longer, but by working in sync with yourself. What if I told you that reading just 1 page a day could change your life? It sounds too simple, doesn't it? But this habit has been one of the most transformative for me, not because of how much I read, but because of the consistency and the wisdom I've gained. In the past, I'd set lofty reading goals, finish this 300-page book in a week, but life would get busy, and I'd fall behind. The result? Frustration and guilt. Then I discovered the power of the 1 page per day habit. The idea is simple: no matter how hectic your day gets, commit to reading at least 1 page from a book that expands your mind. Just 1 page. Here's why this works: it removes the pressure. Anyone can find time for a single page. And once you start, something interesting happens: you often end up reading more. Some days I stop at 1 page. Other days I find myself reading 5, 10, or 20. The key is that I always show up, no matter what. Over time, this habit compounds. Imagine reading 1 page a day for a year. That's 365 pages, essentially a full book. Now imagine if you read 2 or 3 pages a day. The knowledge and insights you gain will build up in ways you can't imagine. But it's not just about reading, it's about the type of books you choose. Focus on books that challenge your thinking, teach you new skills, or inspire you to grow. Fiction has its place, but this habit works best when applied to books that feed your mind and fuel your goals. Most people don't adopt this habit because it seems insignificant. They think, what's 1 page going to do? But those who underestimate small habits miss the bigger picture. It's not about the page, it's about the practice. It's about building a habit of learning and growth that stays with you for a lifetime. So grab a book, commit to 1 page a day, make it a non-negotiable part of your routine. Because in a world where most people scroll endlessly through meaningless content, you'll be the one feeding your mind with ideas that can change your life. Remember, it's not about how much you do, it's about showing up every single day. So there you have it, the 5 habits that changed my life, yet most people overlook. Let me ask you, how many of these resonated with you? Maybe it was the idea of scheduled solitude, finally giving yourself the time to hear your own thoughts. Or perhaps it was micro commitments, showing you that even the smallest consistent actions can lead to massive results. Maybe it was asking uncomfortable questions, forcing you to confront the truths you've been avoiding, or the gratitude list filter, helping you turn struggles into stepping stones. And then there's energy tracking and the 1 page per day habit, simple yet transformative steps to align your daily life with your ultimate goals. Here's the thing, these habits aren't flashy, they're not hacks or shortcuts. But that's why they work. Most people won't use them because they seem too simple, too ordinary. But simplicity, my friend, is where the magic happens. The power of these habits lies in their ability to transform not just your actions, but your mindset, your perspective, and ultimately your future. You don't have to master all of them today. Start with 1. Pick the habit that speaks to you the most and commit to it. Remember, progress isn't about perfection, it's about showing up day after day and trusting the process. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought: success is not about doing extraordinary things once, it's about doing ordinary things consistently. The life you dream of, the goals you've been chasing, they're not out of reach. They're on the other side of small, deliberate actions that you choose to take every single day. So what will you do with this knowledge? Will you let it fade into the background like so many motivational talks, or will you act on it? The choice is yours. And if you choose to act, you're not just investing in a habit, you're investing in yourself. Thank you for taking the time to listen, to reflect, and to consider what's possible for you. Now go out there and make it happen. Your future is waiting, and it's brighter than you can imagine.